Hey, once again, everyone, Tuesday evening's edition of Weather for Weather Geeks, our daily deep dive into the weather for the Valley and for areas beyond our local region as well. We'll take a look at some national weather stories this evening. And first things first, I want to do a little scorecard for you here through the first 7 days, the first week of May. It's been a warmer than average month so far, 5.4 degrees above average through the first week of the month. That was despite a cooler day today, especially at the airport today. As we talked about yesterday, areas around and north of I-80 were definitely noticeably cooler than areas down to the south, especially in Columbiana County. It got into the mid-70s this afternoon. But again, at the airport, we stopped at 63 after hitting 76 yesterday. So that's where we stand temperature-wise through the first week of the month. Now, it may surprise you to hear that rainfall through the first 7 days of May is running below average. We've had 3 consecutive dry days at the airport, and rainfall amounts last week, while they were, it was kind of annoying to have the rainy periods that we did have. The amounts were not all that heavy. Only 0.38 so far. That's 0.4 inches below the average. All right, I wanted to also do a little bit of a check-in on where we stand for the season and for the year so far. These are rainfall differences from average through the last 60 days, basically taking us back pretty close to the start of meteorological spring on March the 1st. The wettest areas, definitely western Ohio and points to the south and west towards the mid-Mississippi Valley. East of I-79, it's been a fairly typical spring so far, precipitation-wise. Now, we are running a surplus here locally, but since March 1st, it's only about a 1.25 inch surplus. It's not a crazy high number. Now, we have had more days with measurable precipitation than average, but only by a few days. Since March 1st through today's date, we've had 36 days with measurable precipitation during that period. Average for that same period is 33 days. So we've had 3 extra wet days this spring, and actually 36 is exactly the same number we had through today's date last year. So yes, it's been a little on the wet side, but nothing real unusual. That being said, a lot of us would like a nice stretch of dry weather. Despite a couple of dry days in a row now, everybody's yard is still kind of a little bit soggy. Golf courses are still a little bit wet. It would be nice to have a week straight worth of dry weather. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Now, when we look at the year as a whole, since January 1st, look at all the rain compared to average. Mississippi Valley, Tennessee Valley, lower Ohio River Valley. When you get into some of these purples, some places are running a surplus of up to 10 inches for the year so far. Now, when we zoom into our local area, we're running about a 3-inch surplus at the Youngstown Ward Airport for rainfall so far this year. Now, the analysis here does point out maybe some places maybe closer to 7 right along the state line, southeast Trumbull, southwest Mercer, but at the airport it's about a 3-inch or so surplus. Some of the drier areas so far this year, even though they are wetter than average, are eastern and southern areas and far western parts of Mahoning and Columbiana. The wettest areas have been around Sharon and Hermitage and West Middlesex as well. All right, temperature-wise for today, again, not hard to pick out the front today. 63 locally, 71 Akron, 78 in New Philly, and 80 in Zanesville. Quite a stark difference across our area today. All right, once again today, the action is in the middle of the country. Another severe weather episode ongoing where you see these red boxes. Of course, those are tornado watches that are out for the panhandle of Texas, parts of Oklahoma, Kansas, southeast Colorado, northeastern New Mexico as well. The Storm Prediction Center does have a moderate risk out for northern Texas and right along the Oklahoma border for the rest of this evening and into the overnight. Everything's going to shift east tomorrow out of the Panhandle and heading into eastern Texas, parts of Louisiana, Arkansas as well. And then by Thursday, the severe weather threat risk area will be kind of centered along the lower Mississippi Valley. Notice the SPC does not have any of Ohio or Pennsylvania in any of the kind of elevated risk categories on Thursday. Our actual cold front's not going to roll through here until Friday morning, and so during the prime time Thursday when it's most humid and warmest, the front's way to our west. The dynamics just aren't coming together. The timing's not coming together either for any sort of significant severe weather around here. Now, that being said, there will be some showers and thunderstorms on Thursday, and I'll get to that in just a second. In the meantime, our forecast has improved for Wednesday. What looked like kind of a cloudy, cool day has now turned into a sunnier day, and therefore a warmer day as well. Despite this warm front not having pushed in yet, we'll sneak above 70, it looks like, for your Wednesday afternoon. So good news for all except for allergy sufferers. Another dry day means, pollen, of course, at this time of the year when we have a stretch of dry weather, it's through the roof. tree pollen especially, but grass pollen is running high as well. Ragweed, kind of the low to moderate category right now. All right, we will bounce into the upper 70s, maybe even flirting with 80 on Thursday, and it'll be kind of muggy, actually, by spring standards. Wouldn't be muggy if it were July, but by spring standards, kind of muggy on Thursday. Now, I think there can try to be a shower at just about any time, but I think the most numerous raindrops, the most numerous showers, and the highest risk of thunder will be later in the day Thursday, towards evening. And you'll notice, though, despite a warm and humid air mass overhead, the front is way back here on Thursday. So the severe weather risk, I think, is pretty low, even though you might hear some thunder. Now, Friday, our actual front will roll through before the morning is through, and I think there'll be some showers around through about midday, 11, noon, maybe 1 o'clock, and temperatures will start to fall behind this front. So it's going to be one of those days, Friday, where we reach our high earlier in the day than usual, probably right around late morning to about noon or so. Rainfall totals on our models here from Thursday through Friday night. Canadian model not playing ball this evening. RPM has a rainier day Thursday than the other models, and so it takes a bigger, faster jump there on Thursday. Model consensus here is around a quarter, or I should say 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch as an average as we sit right now. So early estimates on the late week rain, 1/2 an inch, 3/4 of an inch. All right, Mother's Day, of course, coming up this weekend. I think the weekend starts on a dry note with a good deal of sunshine on Saturday, but a cool note, lower 60s. Speaking of cool, a pretty cool day expected for Sunday, no better than the lower 60s. Don't think we're going to see much sunshine on Sunday, and there is a chance for showers. Now, do I think it's a washout Sunday? I wouldn't bet on that at this early stage. We're still 5 days away, but I do think there is an elevated risk for some shower activity as we go into Mother's Day on Sunday, and it'll stay pretty cool into early next week. But I like the looks of the longer range precip outlook here, not as wet during the middle of the month. And so the Climate Prediction Center has us outlined in a decent odds category here of below average precipitation in the 8 to 14 day outlook. So that would be a good thing. We could use some dry weather. We've only had 2 drier than average months over the past year, and that was July and August of last year. So we've had above average precipitation every month since, and we had the wettest September on record last year. So it's been a very unsettled, wet stretch. Wouldn't mind having a couple of months where we are a little on the dry side of things. So we'll see how May shakes out. But our initial May forecast that I did, that would have been about a week ago, showed that odds were tilting towards it being wetter than average, maybe not by a big margin, but at least a little wetter than average. All right, that'll do it for tonight's Weather for Weather Geeks. Thanks as always for watching, everyone. I'll see you back here tomorrow.